because I was a Christian, I thought I would be, and doing the Lord's work, I was positive I would be protected from anything ever coming against my marriage. And in 2007, I was on Focus on the Family. I was their #1 show, and I was asked to write a book on raising up our sons to be godly husbands, preparing him for the other woman. And that book, right before I went to turn it in, I got scared that a demonic attack would come on me and my family because of going after the next generation boy. And so I wanted to change my mind, and the publisher said, if you're really afraid of the attack that will come on you, we'll release you of your contract. And my son was a senior in high school at the time, and I said, Jake, you've been a privilege to raise. You've made me look really good as a mom. Thanks for that, but you're moving out. Your senior year, and it's over. And I need to know up front, when you move out, are you going to rebel against God before I release a book on raising sons? And
what a conversation.
Said, well, I was keeping it real.
That's good. There you go.
No, Mom, I'm good. Just push send. Get the manuscript out there.
Push it out there.
Go out there. So anyway, I pushed send, and we started doing together mother-son, mother-a-boys conferences, which I'm now doing again. God's resurrected those this year, but now I'm really scared. But in that, my husband had gotten a job that we had prayed for, and we had really good boundaries in our marriage, and this job broke all those boundaries. And within 3 or 4 months, we were separated, and my son got the news, and he walked away from the Lord. And at 18 and a half, after he moved out, started using drugs and alcohol. I had all these contracts with churches to do mother-boys conferences, and I was in the public eye of ministry. I had a little girl. We have 11-year spread between our kids. God has a sense of humor. I got pregnant the night before my husband's surgery. Anyway, in that, my little girl and I ended up moving in with a friend, a Christian friend in ministry that was kind of taking care of us because I was emotionally pretty much out of it. And so I would go speak on the weekends. I kept asking these churches, please let me out of this. I really am not in a good place. He's strong in your weakness. Get on the plane. I'd cry the whole way, cry all the way back. And then one night, honestly, when my daughter was like, God doesn't answer prayer, does he, Mommy? Our family's never coming back, and where's our boys? And I, for the first time, I'm a born-again Jew, and so I've always been on fire for God and never had, I've had my faith shaken, but I've never had my faith taken. My faith was taken. I really felt like God had forsaken me, and because my parents have been married and divorced 3 times each, I'd already been a part of 5 blended families. I felt like I had done everything that God asked me to do out of obedience to him, and took the kids to church and prayed and stayed faithful to my husband, all those things. And so now I'm sitting here totally helpless and can't control my boys and in the public eye of ministry. And I really felt God had forsaken me. I had this moment where after I tucked my little girl in bed and she fell asleep crying, I fell to my knees and I said, God, I waited forever for a family. I've never had one before. And now this family is taken from me. And if you don't give me back my family, I don't want to be in the ministry anymore. I'm quitting. And I felt like the Lord said to me, was my death on a cross not enough for you to follow me? Are you really going to judge me by a man's actions? And in that moment, God showed me that I needed to lay my Isaacs down, that my family had become a god more than God, and that I needed to not let anybody, including my own husband, control my faith in God. And so I laid down my happily ever after and started to live for heavenly ever after, and realized that I couldn't change anything but myself. And so I told my boys, I'm going to follow Christ, and if God continues to open up the door for me to speak at women's conferences, which he has, it's been 22 years of speaking at women's events, and I said, I'm going to move forward with God, because I realized that at the end of my life, even if I didn't get my husband back, even if my son never returned to the Lord, I would be the great-great-great-grandmother that was remembered as a woman that loved and obeyed God in spite of everybody's actions. And I knew the only thing I could control was my own legacy of faith. And I just hung on that promise. Those who love and obey God will bless 1,000 generations.